Hello, students, and welcome to the course. I'm going to go over a little bit of information that you can find in the syllabus. The syllabus is going to have a little bit more detailed information, but I know that some people are auditory learners, and so it might be a little bit easier to watch this than, kind of read through the syllabus. And so to start off, this is MHS6471. I'm going to be your instructor for the semester, Dr. Christina McGrath Fair. I actually received my PhD from the University of Florida, so I'm fairly familiar with the program, and I'm really excited to be teaching my first master's level course at UF. So to start off with, we have two textbooks we are going to be using. We have our sexuality textbook, which is our main textbook that we're going to be working from. And then we have the Quickies book. The Quickies has some anecdotes and stories about professionals who are working in the sex therapy field. So that one is really interesting to help you to understand a little bit more about the specifics of things that occur in real life. There's an abstract textbook I put on there. The reason I put it on is that we are going to be looking at some chapters from it this semester, which I have added to the files section of Canvas. But I think it's a really good book to have in clinical practice. It's called What Every Mental Health Professional Needs to Know About Sex. And so I think it's a really good resource to have in practice. And so if you decide not to get it now, it might be something good to get once you start your practice or go into practice for yourself, just to have this resource guide. And during one of the weeks, I think it's week 2, I actually am going to post some of the resources from that book. So you get to see how exciting that book is. So Stephanie Bueller, who wrote the book, she does do sex therapy certification, and so you could take her courses and become certified as a sex therapist if you'd like. So methods of instruction, we're going to be doing a couple things this semester. This course is going to be primarily online, and so we're going to have assignments and discussion posts that you're going to be doing on your own online. But in addition, we're actually going to have a synchronous online component. So we're going to have 5 meetings throughout the semester. I made them relatively short, just about an hour, where we can come together. The expectation would be that you'd be bringing some questions from the readings so that you can ask them in real time and we can have a discussion about different things, the material and everything from the course. In addition, we also have an assignment that I'm going to be explaining to you called the Sex Box, and it's a way for us to start talking about some things that could be coming into our sessions from our clients and how to talk about them. And so we're going to take some time during those live sessions to review some of those questions as well. And so it'll be an opportunity, 1, to get your questions answered, 2, to get a little bit more experience and more comfortable talking with sex and counseling, and then also 3, just for us to kind of connect a few times throughout the semester. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through the syllabus right now. The syllabus has a lot of stuff about the grading, scoring, incomplete, lateness, professional conduct, netiquette, special needs, problems and concerns, all of that stuff. So that's your go-to resource. It explains the online meetings that we're going to be doing them in Zoom format. They will all be recorded and posted to the page so that you can refer back to them as you need to. All written assignments should be according to the 7th edition of the APA manual, which I know was relatively recently released. Hopefully you all have it. But even if you don't, you can always go to Purdue OWL website and get your information there. That has been updated as well for the 7th edition of APA, and it's a really great, easy resource to use. So one of the components of the course this semester is going to be our quizzes. Instead of doing a midterm and final format, I decided to break it down into 4 quizzes, just so the material is a little bit easier. With only having 12 weeks for the summer, it gives us a lot of reading each week. Your exams are going to primarily be on the Our Sexuality textbook, and in addition, some of the supplemental chapters. So the WPM supplemental chapters, I think we have in week 1 and week 12 maybe. And so primarily that's the textbook you're going to go to. All of the study guides for those chapters that you read during that 3-week period for the quiz will be posted as well. And so you have access to that. All of the questions should be true, false, multiple choice. There may be a few very short answer or fill in the blank kind of questions, but they should be relatively easy. The quizzes are worth only 50 points each. And again, I thought it'd be a little easier for you to tackle only a few chapters at a time instead of waiting till the midterm and semester. Helps break it up just a little bit. But if you have any questions about the quizzes, let me know. They're going to be open between Friday and Sunday during the week that they're assigned. And so they're assigned during week 3, 6, 9, and 12. And so during weeks 3, 6, and 9, they're going to be open from Friday through Sunday. So you have essentially the whole weekend to complete them. You have all day Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. And then the final quiz, because that's the course ends that Friday that week, you're going to have the quiz open from Monday to Friday. So you're going to have 5 days that week to complete quiz 4. And quiz 4 is going to be a little bit different anyway, which I'm going to go through. It's going to have a little less questions, and it's going to focus a little bit more on those paraphilia presentations that you guys are going to be working on in groups. And I'll get back to that in a few minutes. So assignments, we have 2 experiential field learning assignments. The first is a sexuality interview. And this helps you get used to asking about questions involving sexuality and also discussing sexuality. You're going to be in groups of 3. And each one of you is going to take the role of the interviewer, interviewee, and observer. And of course, the observer gets to kind of see the dynamics at play and understand it from a little bit of a different point of view. And so you take turns in each of those 3 roles. And then your paper is not going to disclose any information that was talked about during those interviews. It's basically going to be a reflection. So what was it like to be in each of those roles? How do you feel like this assignment potentially helped you? Or what were some parts that you're realizing you're kind of uncomfortable with or continue to be uncomfortable with, and so on. All of this is posted in the assignment prompt and in the syllabus. And if you have any questions, please let me know. At the end of the syllabus, there is an addendum that has all of the questions that you could potentially ask during those interviews so that you don't have to come up with them yourself. The second field learning assignment is the challenging experience assignment. Now this assignment was a little bit easier before we had COVID restrictions. It makes it a little bit more challenging with things being closed, but things are starting to open up, and so we'll kind of see how things go. I think the most important thing with this assignment is that you keep yourself safe. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to go out and do something that doesn't make you feel safe. And so for the challenging experiences, you think about something that might be a little bit uncomfortable or unusual for you, some part of the area of sexuality that you don't know a lot about, or maybe hold some biases about. And then you put yourself in a situation to learn more about it and be in that experience. And then you write a reflection paper based on why you chose that activity, what made you feel uncomfortable about it, how the activity was as you were going through it, and then afterwards, how does this help you in your future career as a clinician? And so some examples have been people attending drag shows, going to like the club in Gainesville. It's been interviewing maybe a drag queen. It's been interviewing people who are in a consensual non-monogamous relationship or involved in the BDSM community. It could be viewing pornography. It could be going to a pole dancing exercise class, attending a strip club. It could be getting tested for or having dialogue with your partner about STDs and testing. It could be going to a sex shop or a sex toy party, and that could be done virtually, right? You could get involved in one of those Facebook parties. It could be going down to the Pride Community Center, interviewing someone about infertility, or a doctor or provider that provides help for that, infidelity, abortion, lots and lots of different things, going to maybe a topless or a nude beach, if those are open. So it's really anything that sort of stretches you. And I know for myself, sometimes this assignment is a little bit hard for students to come up with. Some students have a little bit of an easier time. For me, it was pretty hard because I took this class after being in practice for 10 years working with sex offenders and all of that kind of stuff. And so I ended up going to the abortion clinic during a day that there were protesters outside. And I actually went and just asked the protesters some questions, like what brought them down there each week and how they felt about it and what drove them to participate in that kind of advocacy and all of that. And, it really stretched me to see kind of what their point of view is and why it's so important to them and all of that. And the important thing is not to inject your beliefs or opinions on the situation, right? You're there to learn and observe. So ask those questions and listen, and then write about your experience in your paper. It's not to say that it's going to completely change your views or your values or your beliefs. You're going to still hold on to them, obviously, but it helps you to get used to things that are a little bit different, because when we're working with clients, we're not always going to be working with clients who come from the same identities and same places that we do. So it just kind of helps us prepare for that. In addition, we're going to have a group project, which I kind of alluded to earlier, about paraphilias. And so there are 8 listed paraphilias, and you're going to be split into groups based on those different topics. And so the size of the group is going to depend on the number of students in class. So we may have, 2, 3, 4 people working on each of the paraphilias, depending on how big the class is. What you're going to do is take that paraphilia and learn as much as you can about it. Find some journal articles and other resources. You can definitely use your textbooks. You can use the textbook or supplemental materials I'm going to be giving you. But also find some relevant journal articles. And you're going to go in depth about that disorder, find out like some of the etiology, how to make a diagnosis, treatment, implications for counselors. What you're going to do is you're going to create a presentation via Genially, and it is a website where you can get free, you can do a free presentation through them, or some kind of similar format that works the same way where you can record a presentation. And so it kind of works like a PowerPoint where you create slides, but what it does is you can insert talking, other videos, links, things like that. You can also do at the end a 5-question quiz, which is the important part, because once you look at everybody else's paraphilia projects, you're going to take a screenshot of that last slide that says that you completed the quiz, and that's what you're going to be submitting as part of your quiz 4. And so engaging in other people's presentations on these paraphilias is going to give you credit towards quiz 4. So it's really important that you do the project and you do it well, but then also you engage in everybody else's so that we can all learn about all of the different paraphilias. The presentation should be somewhere between 25 and 35 minutes. Try not to go over that, but also make sure that it is that length of time with whatever materials you're including in it. And again, this is something we can touch back on later in the semester as well. And I'll be dividing you into groups as soon as I'm able, so that you'll know the interview groups and paraphilia groups pretty quickly within the semester, so you can plan it out when you're going to meet and work on it. There are 2 final assignments for the semester, and these are the ones that you're going to be holding on to for your portfolios for when you graduate. And so you have like an assignment for most of the courses that you're going to have to include in that portfolio, and this is one of them. In the beginning of the semester, I broke it down into 2 parts. So I know in previous semesters, it was all at the end of the semester, you wrote one big paper. This semester, what we're going to do at the beginning is you're going to write a short paper on what do I know? So your pre-class reflection. And then at the end of the semester, you're going to be writing your post-class reflection. So at the end of the semester, you're not trying to remember what your mind frame was at the beginning of the semester. We're breaking it down into 2 50-point papers. And then when you turn in your portfolios, when you go to graduate, you connect them as one document to put in there, and it'll cover everything. And so those assignment prompts also have all of the reflection questions that you want to be thinking about as you complete that assignment. So next I talked about our Zoom video conferences earlier. We're going to have them during week 1, 4, 7, 8, and 10. And for the purposes of planning, I scheduled them for Monday evenings. I hope that this time works for everyone. If you have really extreme problems with, missing a large chunk of these meetings, please contact me right away. Point-wise, they're not a ton of points, and so you won't miss a lot of points by missing 1, maybe even 2. But if you're going to miss 3, 4, or even all 5, that's something we need to talk about. And so make sure that you message me. But so again, this is going to be the time for you guys to ask questions. I'm not going to be giving like a formal lecture. It's going to be more like, okay, this is the topic of the week. This is what the different chapters covered. What kind of questions do you have? What didn't your textbooks and material answer? And then we're going to go into what I called the sex box questions and discussion. And so when this course is taught live, sometimes professors will have what they call a sex box and have students write things down anonymously, or actually type them up in the same font and everything so they're super anonymous, and put those slips of paper into the box. And then throughout the semester, they can pull some out for discussion. And so what you're going to do is during the first 2 weeks of the course, you're going to anonymously submit a sexual secret, a sexual fantasy, or questions about sex that you've been too embarrassed to ask. And you can submit at least 2 of these in any of those 3 categories. So you could submit more if you'd like, but choose one of those 3, 2 of those 3, 3 of those 3 categories, and submit them anonymously. And so there is a link to a Qualtrics survey where you're going to type them in, and you can type them in all at once. You can click on the Qualtrics survey and type it all in the box, as many as you'd like, or you can go into the Qualtrics survey, type one in, go back in, type another one, go back in, type another one, as many as you like. Anyway, so throughout the semester, I'm going to kind of decide, those that maybe come up frequently or, are really a little bit different that need to be discussed. And we're going to be discussing them in those Zoom meetings. So make sure you get those in during the first 2 weeks of the class. I have that open so that you can get those in for us to work with. So the other discussion posts. So we have 7 discussion posts throughout the semester. They are each worth, I believe, 15 points. We technically have another one that's your personal introduction that you need to post during the first week, and that's worth 20 points. But these other discussion posts are worth, I think, 15 points each. These are going to be more of your traditional discussion posts where you have an initial prompt that you need to reply to, and then you have to reply to at least 1 peer. And so for your initial prompt, I ask that you do maybe 200 words, 20 lines. I don't count, as long as your initial post fully responds to the question and you've backed it up with material from your textbook or material from a website or academic source or some kind of video link or whatever you're including in there. So make sure that it is really supported and really strong. And then you have to do 1 or more replies to your peers. And with those replies, you want to make sure that you're acknowledging what your peer wrote, not repeating it, but acknowledging it, building on it. So why did you respond to it? Like, what other things do you have to say that kind of build on the materials that they put out there? And then add something to it. So add an additional resource or add an example or a situation where that kind of pertained to you. And one of the things that I did with all of the discussion posts is you'll see there's at the top of the discussion post prompt, it has a thing where it talks about different ways that you can turn in discussion posts, which means that you don't have to type out 20 words or 20 lines to respond to the discussion post. You can record yourself doing a video. If you feel like you explain yourself much better verbally, then go ahead and record yourself answering that discussion post or responses to your peers, and go ahead and link that up there. Add resources such as YouTube videos and podcasts and things like that. Make it interactive and make it fun. That's going to make this semester a lot more interesting when we do that. And so of your discussion posts, there are 3 that are more of your typical discussion posts, right? Where you're going to be doing some kind of reflection or activity that you're going to want to post on there. And then we have 4 where you're going to be choosing to listen to a podcast. The podcasts range anywhere from a half an hour to an hour long. I give you 2 or more choices, and so you can listen to 1, you can listen to 2, you can listen to all of them, and then I give you a few prompts. But just really the initial post that you're going to be responding is, what did you learn from it? How did this benefit you? Or if you listen to 2 or more podcasts, what did you see as similarities or differences or whatever? And so I tried to use a couple different sources of podcasts to give you an idea of what's out there. There are a lot of podcasts in counseling and mental health and all of that, and so I selected ones that are specifically focused on sexuality and sexuality in counseling. And so they're from sex therapists and sexologists and other counselor educators in our field. So hopefully those are really interesting for you. I know I loved listening to them. So hopefully you love listening to them too. And so that's about it of the overview of the class. Again, you're going to see on the syllabus that I've outlined a topic for each week with different readings. Some weeks we have a number of chapters of reading. This course is very reading heavy, which is why I didn't add a lot of assignments. We only have 7 discussion questions, and again, 4 of them are podcasts. And we only have 5 very short Zoom meetings. And so hopefully you can spend your time really engaging in this reading and material and bringing your questions to those Zoom meetings so that we can discuss the material a little bit further. We do have 2 weeks in the middle of the summer for break. So over those 2 weeks, you don't have any assignments due, but you can always use those 2 weeks if you'd like to catch up on work or kind of do some things that you need to do to finish out the semester. But hopefully you'll be able to use those 2 weeks to really rest and recuperate and take good care of yourself. Just kind of skimming the rest of the syllabus to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so that is it. That covers the full range of the course. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can contact me through my UFL email. You can text me, you can call me, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you so much.